Good morning, dear students. Now, today we will start with the new chapter, and that is chapter 8 Motion, which falls in physics part of our science. Let us introduce ourselves to the motion. If in a general we say motion, then motion means movement. Any object or a living organism, when moved from one place to another, when moved from one point to another, then we can term that movement as a motion. So we can say that motion is a basic characteristic of all living organisms. All living things, plants or animals, move in one way or the other. Right? We can say plants or animals in one way or the other way, but they are all moving. Either you move completely or you move a little, either you move in a whole or in a part, but one or the other way movement is taking place. Animals, humans, they can move a part or a whole of their bodies. Suppose we walk from one place to another. Animals walk from one place to another. Birds fly from one place to another. Then it is complete a movement of whole body. But suppose you are sitting and you are just moving your hands, you are just nodding your heads. Plants, branches, leaves, flowers, they are moving. Completely plants are not moving because they are firm at one place in the soil due to the roots. But some parts are moving. So animals and humans can move a part or a whole of their bodies. Animals use different parts of their body for moving. Some move on their legs, some move by the wings, some even moves by their body, creeping and crawling on the land. Water animals like fish use fins. So these are the different body organs which helps in the locomotion, or you can say for the movement. The plant, or we can say motion in the plants, is not as whole as the human beings or as the animals, as I told just now, because they are formed to the soil due to the root. But certain parts of the plant like branches, leaves, flowers, pollen grains, they do move, and that too because of the wind, because of the animals, because of the water. When rain falls, it falls on the plants also, and along with that rainwater, it will carry away the pollen grains of the plants, some leaves of the plants, right? So that is a type of a movement of the plants because of the external factors like animals, wind, water. But do you think why this motion is possible? Why this movement is possible? The living things move by the energy which is obtained from the food. We are able to move because we get energy from the food which we eat. Animals also move because they get food from energy from the food they eat. Non-living things cannot move on their own. Non-living things, they cannot move on their own. They need the help of the living organisms to make them move. Or by some mechanism, technology, they can move. Non-living things can be moved by applying some force on them. For example, if a stone is to be moved, then it should be pushed. And if it is a bigger stone, then effort is to be given by more than one, more than two or three person. Cars, scooters, buses, lorries, that is trucks, locomotives, Activa, bike, these all vehicles, they can be made to move. But by what? As I told, living things get energy from the food to move. What these non-living things who are able to move and who are moving, which are moving and which are able to move, they are made to move by burning fuels. As we get energy from the food, vehicles get energy from burning of the fuels. Fuels like petrol, diesel, CNG, LPG, sedimentary rocks in the steam engine mechanism. So these are the different fuels which burns and in turn gives energy to the non-living objects for the movement. Thus, for any kind of motion or movement to take place, energy is needed by direct or indirect means. To eat food and get the energy is a direct means. And here, to burn the fuels for the vehicles and get energy to run the vehicles, that is indirect method. So directly eating food or indirectly getting help of some factors is called indirect means by which motion is possible. We often perceive that means see. We often see motion of an object as a change in its position, to move from one place to another, change in its position, to stand up, to stand down, to stand up, to sit down, change in position, doing exercise, to bend down, straight up, lie down, jump. That means we are continuously changing the position. So when we see that motion of an object as a change in its position with respect to a reference point, whenever we see some motion, we see that motion doing movement with regard of the position, and that too with respect of a reference point. A point from which we consider the respective motion, then that point is termed as reference point, or you can say origin point, or even you can say initial point. A point from which we consider the respective motion. That means one such position is considered, and from that position the other distance or the other movement is to be considered, then that particular distance is termed as reference point, original point, or initial starting point. Here is an example: a bus station, a railway station, from where bus and train starts respectively. Their motion starts from this particular position. So, from that it is said that motion is relative quantity of the physical world, which can be in rest or in motion. So, as I have given example here, when the bus starts its motion, from where does it start? Bus station. Train starts from railway station. That means we are getting some supportive points from where the real motion starts. Such supportive points are termed as initial point, starting point, or original point. That is the reference point. And in regard of the reference point, we can say that motion is relative to the respective reference point. It has a relation with some reference. If I will take an example as a reference, that school is the reference point. Now, from the reference school, if I say that my house is 2 kilometers towards north of the school, my friend's house is 5 kilometers towards south of the school. That means I have an idea of some relation of my house from the school. So when I am doing the movement from my house to school and school to house, then the reference is a school, or we can consider our house. That means, again I would like to say, motion is a relative quantity and it is in the relation of to be in the rest or in the motion. Normally when train runs on the track, we are standing on the roadside or the track side or on the platform. We are standing. That means we are not in a motion. And a train is running on a track. It is in the motion. Now when we observe, we will observe that the passenger sitting in a train, same thing can be explained with the bus also. Passengers sitting in a train, they are also running along with their compartments, but in a real sense, they are sitting on the seats. That means train itself is running and passengers are not in a motion. So, in the same way, we are on the platform. On the track side, we can see plants, trees grown over there. When we are in the bus or when we are in the train and our train is in the motion, our bus is in the motion, we will find out that those trees and plants are also moving with us. But in actual sense, they are at the rest. We can see our co-passengers, those who are with us, they are also in the rest. We are also in the rest, not moving. But on the whole, bus is moving, train is moving. So motion is related along with rest as well as along with the motion. So what is rest and what is motion? When we look around, we see houses, trees, plants, birds, people, animals, and many other things. Each one of these are not in the same position. Houses remain at their allotted place. Trees remain firm in the soil. Birds for a while keep flying, or for a while they sit unmoved. People also may move or remains unmoved. Thus, objects remain fixed at their positions or may change their positions. Right? Here, these are certain examples where organisms may move, may not move. And this is termed as they remain in the rest or they remain in the motion. So as per the physics, a body is said to be at rest if it does not change its position with respect to any fixed point in its surroundings. Physics has given us this definition of a body in a rest. that if any body does not change its position with respect to the fixed point around it or in its surrounding, then it is termed as body at rest. A book lying on a table, a good example, see. A book lying on table will remain on the table forever if it is not disturbed by anybody. It will not change its position, and so it will be termed that book is in the rest position. The walls of our room, our house itself, not many non-animate things remains at the rest until and unless they are not disturbed by the living organism. And in the same way, physics has also given us that a body is said to be in motion if it changes its position continuously with respect to a fixed point in its surrounding. So, it is termed that if a body is in motion, it means it continuously changes position with respect to a fixed point. Cars and buses running on the road, they are continuously moving with the fixed point surrounding them, which is the road surface. Road surface is not moving. It is a fixed point, and on that fixed point, cars and buses are running. Not only road sides also. The plain area at the roadsides, they do not move, but they remain fixed, and in the consideration of this fixed point, cars and buses are running continuously. Birds and aeroplanes fly in the sky, right? Sky is a fixed point for them, and they fly continuously in that fixed surrounding. The blades of a running fan. If you see the fan at the rest position, when it is not running, the blades are fixed at the axle only. And even when the fan is running, when you put on the switch, fan starts running. It starts whirling. I should say circular motion, that is whirling. Blades are not moving. Axle at the center is moving and blade remains in the rest. But axle continuously moves. So, this is about the motion of the body with the help of the fixed point in the surrounding. So, motion can be straight line, circular, oscillatory, random, zigzag motion, rotational, revolutional, uniform, non-uniform. These are different types of the motions. So, we can say motion is a complex physical quantity which needs a reference point, or you can say fixed point, or origin point, or initial point, and also certain physical medium where the body keeps changing its position continuously. Thus, at a time, more than one physical quantities are taking place, and that is why we can say motion is a complex quantity. It means it involves many physical quantities at the same time, such as length, to measure how far the body has changed the position, speed, what distance has traveled, what position has changed in what time, velocity, what is the direction, right? So these are the need to understand about the motion, and These all different quantity helps to describe the motion. That is why motion is complex quantity. This all can be mentioned in the numeric value. Speed can be mentioned 30 km per hour, 100 km per hour. What is 30? What is 100? Numeral value. Velocity. It gives idea about the speed as well as in respective direction. So that is also numerical value. Length, how far the position is changed from this point to that point, measured in length. So that is also numerical value. So all these values are measured in numeric value. It means they gives us the measurement. And as per the physics, the measurement is termed as magnitude. The measurement of the physical quantity explaining motion is termed as magnitude. So, on the basis of the magnitudes, the quantities are scalar as well as vector. Scalar quantities, a physical quantity which is described completely by its magnitude, that means measurement for size, is called scalar quantity. So all those physical quantity which needs only numerical value but no direction, then such quantities are scalar quantities. Length, distance, area, volume, mass, time, power, energy, speed, temperature. These are certain physical quantities. They do not need any direction to explain. Mass. If I say that person A has 15 kg mass in his living room, and when he goes to the bedroom, his mass remains the same, though direction changes. Time in the school and time in the house remains the same at the same time. No direction matters there. So these such quantities where complete description can be given only by the measurement, only by the magnitudes, then these are all scalar quantity. Scalar quantity can be represented by a number with proper units. An object has a mass of 2 kg. So 2 is the numeral value and kilogram kg is the unit. So scalar quantity can be represented by numerical value along with the proper units. If time, then second. If volume, then liter, milliliter. If area, then square centimeter, square meter. Length, distance in meter, kilometer, right? So these are the respective scalar quantity which can be represented by number and a respective unit. Units are mostly in SI system international. Units are mostly considered which is sanctioned globally, that means throughout the world. Those units will be considered which is considered throughout the world the standard unit, which is termed as System International Unit of System. A scalar quantity having similar units can be added or subtracted. Suppose I say I have 2 kg of sand and 1 kg of cement. Then these two quantities sand in kilogram, cement in kilogram. Kilogram, no need any special direction to explain. So they can be added, they can be subtracted. But contrary to scalar vector quantities, they are completely explained along with direction. A physical quantity which is described by both magnitude and direction completely is called vector quantity. Not only measurement, along with measurement, this quantity need direction also. Displacement, distance, I can say 5 kilometer, but when I want to explain displacement, I need to say 5 kilometer in north direction. Velocity, it also need numeral measurement along with respective direction. Acceleration, it also need in which direction to accelerate. So these are the certain quantities which need measurement as well as direction, and so they are called vector quantities. Vector quantity can also be represented by proper units, number and respective direction. Velocity of car, an example is here, 45 km per hour towards south. 45 is the number, kilometer per hour is unit. As per this it is scalar, but towards south it gives a respective spatial direction. This shows the vector quantity. Vector quantity having similar units but different directions are not added or subtracted. If the units are same, the given quantities both are kilogram, both are having same speed, but one is in north direction, one is in south direction, we will not add it, we will not subtract it by the regular general maths rule. They can be added or subtracted by spatial rules which you will learn in higher classes. But if units and directions both are same, then this vector quantities can be added or can be subtracted even by the regular mathematics rule. So this is about the scalar and the vector quantities. Scalar are the quantities, physical quantities, which need to describe completely them only the magnitude, that means measurement value, and vectors are those physical quantities which needs measurement value along with a respect direction, right? So this is about the introduction of the motion, some types of motions, and the physical quantities which helps us to describe the motion, like scalar, vector quantities, reference point, object at the rest, object at the motion. Further we will discuss in more another video. By the time, thank you.